Assalamualaikum and good morning to the esteemed reviewer, fellow researcher and attendees of the 6th Kuala Lumpur International Conference on Social Science, Education and Engineering 2025. My name is Farah Fatirah binti Zainal and I am a doctoral candidate in Administrative Science at the Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies, Universiti Teknologi UiTM Shah. I am privileged to be guided by my main supervisor, that is Associate Professor Dr. Mahathir Ladisma Awis from UiTM Shah, and my co-supervisor, that is Dr. Sharifah Fatihah binti Syed Muhammad Fuzi from UiTM Seremban. I will presenting our work under the sub-theme of social science. The title of our paper is Developing and Validating ESG Disclosure Instruments, a mixed methods approach among Malaysia public listed companies. Today, I will walk you through the rigorous development and validation process of these instruments, ensuring both their ethical compliance and methodological trustworthiness. So let's move to the next slide. To guide you through my presentation on developing and validating ESG disclosures instrument, here is the roadmap for the next few minutes. First, I will begin with a brief introduction to frame the problem and the objective of my mixed method research. The core of my presentation will focus on the methodology for instrument development, a journey spanning 3 criteria phase, which is the phase 1 is cover the initial instrument design and item generation, grounded in the theory and literature. Phase 2 involve rigorous expert validation and content refinement, ensuring the instrument were relevant and robust. And finally, I will delve into the phase 3, that is ethical clearance and final validation, which is crucial for establishing the trustworthiness of our data. This phase is where I ensure ethical integrity and rigorous before field work begins. Following the methodology, I will move to the discussion section where I reflect on the methodology rigors of the study. I will discuss the requirement for the quantitative rigors like systematic coding and standardized scoring. And I will also cover the need for qualitative depth and context through my concept like credibility and confirmability. And this will be followed by a brief look at the integration of and methodological contribution of my mixed method approach. Finally, I will conclude with the key takeaway and the future direction of this research. So let's begin with the introduction. For point number 1, environmental, social and governance ESG as a global benchmark. ESG has evolved for beyond traditional corporate social responsibility and is now a global benchmark for assessing firm long-term value, performance and risk profile as stated by the author. Move to this point number 2, transparency and leadership role. This shift on grounded in the stakeholder theory, which emphasizes corporate responsibility beyond shareholder and is further reinforced by increasing regulatory disclosure requirements. And as a result, the quality of ESG disclosure has become critically important as poor transparency may signal higher risk and weaken investor confidence, according to the author Lubis and Rohim 2021. Leadership, particularly CEO characteristic and commitment, plays a key role in shaping ESG disclosure strategies. Move to the point number 3, key challenges, measurement and standardization. However, a major challenges remains ESG principles are difficult to translate into the consistent and measurable data due to the absence of unified reporting standard, leading to significant variation in the disclosure practices. And move to the point number 4, research gap. However, existing studies rarely examine how governance mechanism and strategy interact to the influence ESG disclosure, especially within the Malaysia regulatory environment. And point number 5, the aim and contribution of the study. To address this gap, the study adopt a mixed method approach to develop and validate fit for purpose, quantitative and qualitative ESG disclosure instrument. These tools aim to support reliable measurement, enhance regulatory insight, and strengthen ESG practices among Malaysia public listed companies, according to the author. Methodology for instrument development. The core for my presentation will focus on the methodology for instrument development. My study used a sequential explanatory mixed method design as conceptualized by Crosswell and Plano-Clark, which you can see in the illustrated in figure number 1. This design proceed logically in three distinct phases, which is the phase one, focus on the quantitative data collections and analysis, where I gather broad numerical data to establish the statistical basis of my study. Phase two, follow the dedicated to qualitative data collection and analysis. Here, I use the quantitative result to inform and guide in-depth interview, allowing me to explain the initial finding. And finally, phase number three involved the integration and interpretation of all findings, leading to a comprehensive understanding that leverage the strength of the both data types. This phase approach ensure my final instrument is both statistical, robust, and contextual rich. For the methodology, this study is guided by the definition provided by the Sekaran and Bogi, which emphasize that methodology serve as the strategic plan for collecting, analysis, and interpreting data. Based on this foundation, the study adopt a mixed method approach, combining both quantitative and qualitative techniques. Crosswell advocates this approach for research that require both breadth and depth, especially when examining complex organizational phenomena. In this study, the quantitative component provide a structure and objective measurement of ESG disclosure and a corporate governance attributes across Malaysian public listed company. Meanwhile, the qualitative component capture rich, practical based insight from regulators and governance experts. Together, this integrate methodological strategy allow the study to address the research question in a comprehensive and rigorous manner. So we move to the next slide. For this slide, phase one, instrument design and item generations. The quantitative phase formed the foundation of this study, involved the systematic analysis of archival data extracted from the annual report of 555 Malaysian public listed companies, using a structured content analysis checklist developed specific for this research. I measure ESG disclosure alongside CEO characteristics, audit committee attributes, ownership structure, and proactive sustainability strategy. The analysis is conducted using PLSM, which is exploratory research. This method enables us to test the hypothesis, relationship derived from the theoretical frameworks underpinning the study. The quantitative finding provide a broad empirical understanding of how governance mechanisms influence ESG disclosure across a large sample of the companies. And then the quantitative phase is designed to complement and deepen the quantitative finding. Here, semi-structured interviews are conducted with a purposive sample of approximately 12 to 30 informants, including regulators, corporate governance experts, and compliance officers. Thus, individuals are strategically selected for their experience and involvement in ESG enforcement and reporting. The interview protocol developed and validated in early stage allow the researcher to explore the real world challenges, enforcement gap, and sector-specific practices. This qualitative insight is crucial for interpreting an expected statistical result and understanding the contextual dynamic shaping ESG disclosure in Malaysia. Next, we move to the next slide. Phase 2, expert validation and content refinement. In phase 2, the study focused on ensuring the content validity and practical soundness of the instrument before they were used for data collections. As highlighted by Sekaran and Bogi, content validity is crucial to confirm that each item accurately represents the concept being studied. To achieve this, both the quantitative content analysis checklist and the qualitative interview protocol were evaluated by a panel of 4 experts. The panel consists of 2 senior academic scholars specializing in corporate governance, sustainability, and reporting, as well as 2 industry practitioners who work directly with ESG implementation in the Malaysian context. The expert assess the instrument for clarity, relevance, and alignment with the theoretical foundation and real-world reporting practices. Based on their feedback, minor refinements were made, particularly in the wording of the proactive sustainability strategy, scale, and structure of the interview guide. This ensures that the instruments are both theoretically robust and practically applicable to Malaysian PLC. And next, move to the next slide. Phase 3, ethical clearance and final validations. Phase 3 involve securing formal ethical approval, which is a mandatory step before any data collection can begin. After completing the expert validations and refining the instrument in phase 2, the full research proposal was submitted to the UiTM Research Management Center for ethical review. This submission included the finalized content analysis checklist, the semi-structured interview protocol, and all relevant consent forms. The ethical clearance confirmed that the research adhered to strict governance standards, particularly regarding the anonymity of companies in the quantitative phase and the confidentiality of informants in the qualitative interviews. It also ensured that all procedures, rights, and protections for participants were properly documented and aligned with the institutional requirements. With ethical approval granted, the study was officially authorized to proceed to the main data collection stage. This ensured that the project remained fully compliant, transparent, and ethically accountable. I'm moving to the next slide. This slide will be the discussion. In the discussion section, this study demonstrates a rigorous methodological foundation by employing an explanatory sequential mixed method design. Following Creswell and Plano-Clark's framework, the strength of this approach lies in the deliberate integration of quantitative and qualitative components. The quantitative analysis allows me to first establish what the relationships are among ESG disclosure, governance characteristics, and mediating variables. The qualitative phase then builds on this by helping me understand why this relationship appear as they do, particularly within the unique environment of Malaysian public listed companies. By combining statistical results with the expert insight, the study offers a more comprehensive and context-sensitive interpretation, making the overall finding both robust and deeply meaningful. So moving to the next slide. The discussion on quantitative rigor. Focusing on quantitative rigors, the analysis is grounded in a substantial dataset of 555 company year observation, offering strong statistical power and representation. The use of PLSM is highly appropriate because the research involves a complex model, including mediating effect through proactive sustainability strategy. PLSM support this complexity while also aligned with the study predictive objective of forecasting ESG disclosure outcome. Additionally, its minimal assumptions about data normality make it suitable for accurate accounting and financial data. The scoring instrument itself enhances rigor by combining binary disclosure indicators with 0 until 3 ordinary scales to measure strategic sophistications, allowing a richer and more nuanced assessment of ESG commitment. So moving to the next slide. So discussion on qualitative depth and context. In this section, the qualitative phase is designed to provide the deeper institutional and human perspective that are essential for achieving the research objective. While the quantitative result tell us what relationship exists, the qualitative interview help us explore why this pattern occur. Using purposive sample, I selected 12 to 30 highly experienced informants comprising regulators, corporate governance, experts, and compliance officers. These individuals offer targeted insight that cannot be captured through numerical data alone. Semi-structured interview allow the study to interpret unexpected or weak quantitative finding. For example, when a governance variables show no significant impact on the disclosure, qualitative insight can uncover whether this is due to the regulatory limitation, managerial incentive, or cultural constraint within the organization. Furthermore, experts shed light on enforcement realities, including the challenges and the future direction of regulatory bodies, like the Security Commissions and Bursa Malaysia. All the qualitative data will be analysed using thematic analysis to systematically identify themes related to reporting practices, compliance, motivation, and institutional pressure. So moving to the next slide. Integration and methodological. In this section, the study emphasized the strength of the sequential explanatory design, where the quantitative phase is conducted first and the qualitative phase is intentionally built to explain and extend those statistical findings. Essentially, the quantitative phase identifies what relationship exists, while the qualitative phase help us understand why those patterns appear within the Malaysia context. This connection ensures that the interview questions are precise, tailored to unexpected or significant statistical outcome, enhancing the explanatory power of the mixed method design. Additionally, the methodological rigor of this study is strengthened through two important steps. The first, expert validation in phase 2, ensuring that the instrument accurately capture both theoretical construct and real-world practices. Second, ethical clearance in phase 3, confirm that the procedures align with the institutional research governance. Together, this mechanism ensure that the final integration results are both credible and comprehensive, offering a robust understanding of ESG disclosure, determinants, and enforcement practices in Malaysia. Moving to the last slide. So the conclusion. To conclude, this study has developed a robust mixed method instrument specifically tailored to measure ESG disclosure among PLC. The quantitative checklist offer a structured and replicable way to assess disclosure across ESG dimension, while the qualitative interview protocol provide deeper insight into regulatory expectation, organization behavior, and organization decision making. These instruments are firmly anchored in Malaysia reporting landscape, reflecting requirement under the NSRF, MCCG, and Bursa Malaysia sustainability guidelines. Although the full empirical analysis is part of the next phase, the development and validation process conducted so far ensures strong methodological reliability and relevance. Importantly, the tools do more than measure what is disclosed. They help explain why companies disclose in a particular ways. This makes them valuable not only for academic research but also for regulators and practitioners seeking to enhance the transparency, improve governance practices, and benchmark ESG reporting quality within Malaysia and across the broader Asian region. So that's all for me. Thank you for your attention, and I am now happy to take any question you may have.